You mentioned here that when it comes to land power, then Poland could potentially play this important role for other countries such as the Baltic states or Czechia. There has been a lot of talk about Poland, even before the war started, but especially after the war started, that this military modernization program that is taking place is very ambitious. You mentioned that military expenditure is going to increase to 4%. It is practically already now at 3.8%. But also there are some saying that it will increase even to 5%. That was a statement given by the head of the ruling party, Jarosław Kaczyński. But also just the amounts that they are buying when it comes to military hardware, the 1,000 K2 tanks, 1,400 Borsuk infantry fighting vehicles, F-35 planes, 8 Patriot batteries, and so on and so on. It can really continue. How do you view the Polish program? Is it balanced? Is it because some people say that simply financially it will never be possible to do? Do you believe that Poland is on the track to manage to fulfill these ambitions?
Oh yes, the problem I see with Poland is how you get that many people out of the workforce and into the military. Because if you have 400,000 or more soldiers, you withdraw these people from the workforce, which is harming your economy. So the Poles need to find a model similar to the Americans, where you have 11 frontline divisions now in the US Army, and another 8 reserve divisions with the same equipment and the same capabilities with the National Guard. Because the Americans, in case of war, the 11 frontline divisions will immediately go to fight, and the 8 National Guard divisions will gear up in 1 or 2 weeks as a follow-on force. So Poland withdrawing 400,000 young men and women from the economy will hurt the Polish economic. But you got 4 million Ukrainian refugees, so that compensates a bit. But if the Ukrainians should return to Ukraine, you will lose that. So Poland needs to find a way to basically make it possible for, let's say, 150,000 to serve like in the US National Guard. In Western Poland, a more strong focus on reserve troops or National Guard units or territorial defense forces. And in Eastern Poland, towards Kaliningrad and Belarus, 3 divisions that are fully manned and fully geared up. Money-wise, equipment-wise, Poland is becoming the strongest military in NATO after the US. Turkey has a lot of troops too, but not the equipment that Poland is buying. So Poland clearly understands where the danger lies. It's a Russian invasion coming out of Belarus towards Kaliningrad and Warsaw, and is gearing up to defend itself. The key that is Poland needs the Americans to come in with air force, because Poland can never finance an air force of the size that the Americans have. So for Poland, the most important thing is to get Europeans to put small troops permanently, like a battalion of Italians to Rzeszów and a battalion of French, or Germans to somewhere near Warsaw, just so not temporary like in the Baltics, because then you can just pull it out. You have to really try to get them to do it, like in the Cold War when you had whole divisions stationed in Germany, which the Germans have forgotten. The Germans have forgotten that the Belgians, the Dutch, the British, the Americans, the French and Canadians had division in Germany to defend Germany, and without them they couldn't have defended their nation. So these nations need to be reminded of the Cold War, and that they should put in a battalion at least, just as a symbol that we are together in this.
If we return to the country where you served in the armed forces, to Italy, before Giorgia Meloni was elected, there were some people that were frightened in Western Europe that this could mean that Italy will go in some form of pro-Russian direction, or at least that they won't be very involved in helping Ukraine. So far, none of those fears have materialized. But at the same time, the opposition is questionable. The Movimento Cinque Stelle, the Five Stars movement, with the former Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte, have been very actively against sending weapons to Ukraine. Previously, the PD, the Social Democratic Centrist Party, were a little bit more balanced, but it seems that in recent months they have gotten closer to the Five Stars movement position. Do you fear that if there would be a change of power in Italy, that Italy would completely disappear as a country that is supporting Ukraine?
There's 2 points here. Meloni went into the elections with a very right-wing program. She got elected, and she moved so brutally and so quickly and so fast and so radically to the center. She's squeezing out every other party right now. So if you talk, there will be elections in Italy. The good lady Meloni would get 60%. The opposition would be completely destroyed by her because the Italians love what she's doing. She's focused, she's honest, seldom with Italian politicians, and she's so much in the center, she's squeezing everybody out. The Cinque Stelle would disappear in a new election. Conte is a clown. And the Italians are all surprised. Her own coalition partners like Berlusconi, who has died, and Salvini were completely dumbfounded. Like, where's she going? She's going to the center so quickly and so radically. And she found the right way. You get elected on a right-wing platform, and then you move to the center and squeeze the other parties all out. So there wouldn't be a change in government in Italy right now. And one important thing, in Italy, the power lies with the ministries. Ministers arrive and change very often. But if they go against the bureaucracy in the ministry, they will have a really horrible time. And basically, if these ministers then all do what the bureaucracy tells them to do, they will have an easy time and make a bella figura. They will look good on TV and have something to say. And there was I forgot his name, a Cinque Stelle foreign minister that came in, Di Maio, and he was like, I will change, I will do this, don't believe me, I will. It took them 2-3 weeks to tame him, and he became exactly the kind of person they want to announce what the bureaucracy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs wants Italy to do and behave. And the president of Italy is the ultimate authority in Italy, and he is going to, if one dances too far outside, let's say the group, he's calling him back in a nice coffee chat and telling him this isn't working. So the Italian...
There's not too much to worry about, you say, in Italy.
No. The Italians, they talk a lot, and then the ministries tame them. And the next point is that Meloni, there is very little chance that in the next 8 to 9 years we'll see a different prime minister in Italy, because she found a solution to the Italian disease. Basically what her solution is to come from the right, squeeze your own right-wing coalition partners against the wall. Salvini is nobody in Italy. He's just sitting there and being quiet because she's just pushing him with her rhetoric to the wall. He doesn't even know how to get up against this little woman like 155. She's crushing the center. And the reason the PD, the Social Democrats, have moved a little further to the left is because in the center, Meloni is crushing them, because if I have the same opinion as Meloni, she is crushing me. So I have to move further out to the center and be more against Ukraine and more Russia to even get into the TV news. So she has done, I mean, I think in Poland you have elections in 2 weeks, and I think the winner is going to have a long look at the lady in Italy and say, oh, that's how you do it.
And a good future partner as well for any European, large European negotiations.
She is looking clearly to find an alliance with Eastern Europe against the Germans. So Iberian, Italian, Eastern Europe alliance to counter the French, Germans. Not really yet there, because she cannot stand Orban, because he has obviously values. You can tell dishonest people, she can't stand them. And so we will have to see what Polish politics look like in 2 weeks, and then there might be a Polish-Italian, not, let's say, partnership, let's say a very overlap in interests that will lead to some interesting.
When we look at, as you mentioned before, that you think it would be good if there would be more military forces, NATO forces stationed here on the eastern flank of NATO. such a decision was not taken during the NATO summit. So far, sure, the Americans, in Poland, for example, they have increased their numbers from 3,000-4,000 to around 10,000 now. But if we compare to what was happening during the Cold War with the troop concentrations in Western Germany, do you have any ideas about why there is this reluctance to station more NATO forces in this part of Europe?
Have you heard about Germany? The thing is that the NATO founding act with Russia said that there will be no...
Why is it still there?
Because there's an idea in Germany that once Russia behaves again, we have to go back to this treaty.
Business as usual.
Yes, which says no permanent NATO bases in Eastern Europe. So the Germans like, yeah, but we have this treaty. The Russians violated it like 300 times and spit on it and ripped it up. But we should not do the same. So that's why there's a rotational... Scholz promised the Lithuanians a permanent German brigade in Lithuania, and then he's now trying to somehow get out of his promise.
Yes, he stated that it will be there, but it will be stationed in Germany, and it could be sent there within 2 weeks or so if there's a crisis.
Yes, so it's just again, he gave me a promise and then trying to wiggle out of it. The best thing would be for Poland to make bilateral agreements, like say Italy. We're going to have a license agreement with you for fighter trainers or for attack helicopters or submarines or frigates, and in return you put a battalion of Italians next to Warsaw. Spain, we would like to have this deal with you, and we put a battalion next to Lublin. And so it's much more likely that Poland and Eastern Europe get success in bilateral deals that are outside of NATO and focused more on military cooperation in the economic production sphere than in the sphere of NATO, because then you have to agree, everyone, unanimity. I mean, the Finns would love to have American units in Finland, but the Germans, we have a Russian, it's provocative, maybe don't do it.
Escalatory.
Yes, escalatory. So the French don't really care because their focus is still on Africa. The Spanish they have with Morocco
Cold War of their own.
Yes, thanks to 2 enclaves on the Moroccan coast. So the Italians are very interested to keep the Balkans from Slovenia to Romania to Greece peaceful, because that's a risk for Italy. And the Germans should be really interested to keep Poland safe, but they're like, oh, we don't want to provoke Russia because blah blah blah. In my view, Poland should go and find friends and invite those friends and say, Brits, why don't you bring a unit over? We will build you the base, then you fill it with troops and material. We don't need a brigade, we just want a battalion that can be integrated in a Polish, like there's a mixed German-British amphibious engineering battalion in Germany, integrated in the best German brigade, in the Panzerlehr brigade. Yeah, so basically you could try to do this with Poland. Let's say, dear Danish, I know you just have a 1 brigade, but how about you rotate and we give you a base? So Poland would have to build bases and give them the chance. But I would say it's much easier for Poland to find friends and alliances this way by going around
bilateral agreements instead of going through the NATO framework.
Let's put it this way: the Eastern European and Southern European interests do not align with the Berlin interests. And the problem is that Berlin is such a juggernaut, so huge, that it's hard to get around Germany if you try to go to European Union and NATO institutions. But you can always find friends between 2 nations without other problems.